Hey, welcome to Ben African Cyclet. So in today's video we're going to reseal a 20-gallon aquarium and a 75-gallon aquarium. I unfortunately thought that I already made those videos for you guys about reseal a tank and how to do it, but I was looking at all the videos that I made so far and I don't have one of those videos posted. So I reseal lots of tank. I have a little bit of experience with this. I'm gonna show you all the tricks and tips, and yeah, let's just get going. Okay, so this is what you're going to need here. So we're gonna need some razor blades in order to scrape off the old silicone. We're going to need rubbing alcohol and paper towel to clean our area super clean before we install the silicone and reseal everything. So this is American Sealant Incorporation silicone. You can find that on Amazon. Miracle Aquarium also sells it. Apparently, if you cannot get the SCS 1200 aquarium silicone out there, this is the next best thing. And of course, you're also going to need a caulking gun to apply your silicone. So today we're going to start by the 20-gallon. As I explained, and you can see that in other videos, how to inspect a tank to know if it's good enough so you can reseal it, or if you should just pass on it. Watch that video, and then this one here we're just going to redo the seal on it. So as you can see here, the silicone's all peeling off. So the first thing we're going to do, scrape the silicone off. Now when you're scraping the silicone, see how this glass here, this one finish at the end, but the other one comes in but right here in the seam. So the silicone that's in between the glass is actually your structural silicone. You don't want to touch this when you're resealing everything, because if you end up breaking the seal in between those two glass here, then you're gonna have to take the whole glass panels apart and redo the whole tank. Now we just want to reseal the inside of this tank because it's good to go if we just reseal the inside, because there's no damage on the structural silicone. This glass panel here finish at the edge. This one goes all the way out, so we don't have to worry. We can go right against this one as we're scraping off the silicone here and put lots of pressure, because you're not going to touch the incredity of the structural silicone. Now when we do this one on this side, we have to make sure that we're against the glass here and we don't go on an angle, and we don't go too close like this, because we don't want the blade to poke in between that silicone here. So we're just using this glass as a guide right here. That's what needs to get done here. Same thing's gonna happen when you do the bottom of the tank here. Just use your panel on the side of your blade here as a guide so you don't go too far into the silicone. Let's see how this cuts perfect here, and the silicone underneath hasn't been touched. As you can see here, it's perfectly 90-degree seal. As for holding your blade here, you want to be like pretty much at a 30-degree to 45-degree angle. 30 degrees better. The trick for that is, you know, the frame of the blade here. You won't be able to use a blade holder or a regular utility knife for this. You need to pretty much do it by hand like this, or you're not going to have the right angle. So see the little frame at the bottom of the blade here? So if you just put 2 fingers on this and then you squeeze it with your thumb, as you're putting your hand against the aquarium here, you're gonna have the right angle to come and scrape the silicone. One more tip is when you get to the corner like this here, don't have the idea of pulling on the silicone, because now it might pull the silicone in between the glass panel, the structural silicone. So make sure that you just keep cutting over and over, and that silicone is all loose. Oh, Martin, you got a piece there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Martin's first tank for reseal here, so we're teaching him as we go. Perfect angle for the blade. Yeah. Now, new silicone do not stick on old silicone, so you need to remove as much of this old silicone as possible. Corners can be tricky. It is very tempting to just pull on that silicone. And like I said earlier, you have to be careful that you don't here you have to be careful that you don't, so this is perfect. Here you have to be careful that you don't go in between the glass pieces. If the piece in your corners are starting to be too long and it's hard to deal with doing the corner, then you can pass the blade just straight down or straight across like this, so that you can remove some of that silicone that's closer to the corner, so that it's easier to work with your corner here. Corners are tricky and they are time consuming. So now when you think you're done, still go around the side again a couple times just to make sure, you know, you might still get a little bit more silicone. You want to make sure that all that silicone is out of there. One more thing you might need is the little shop vac here, so that you can clean up any dust or dirt and pieces of silicone that is in the bottom of the tank. Because before we reseal and go to the next step, it cannot have any water in here. It needs to be 100% dry and dust and dirt free. So clean this as best as you can. After you're done vacuuming everything, now you can see where there's a little bit spot where might be a little bit silicone left over. Make sure you take that off. So if you leave it there, it's gonna be a little spot where it might make air bubbles or anything like that underneath your silicone, and it won't seal the tank properly. So just re-go over everything and then re-vacuum everything. Like this stuff here, it looks like it was all done, but when you scrape it, there's more silicone coming out, right? That would have give a spot for the water to go underneath your new silicone. tank is pretty clean. What we're doing is just folding a little piece of paper towel, and we're going to use that rubbing alcohol, and we're just gonna put some of this. Don't just pour it in the tank there. You want to use that because it evaporates pretty quickly. And then we're just gonna clean our seams here to make sure that there's no silicone left. And you know, all this buildup of stuff on the side, you can use vinegar for this sometime, or you can use the rubbing alcohol while you're in here. The thing is, like, after we're done the silicone, we'll have to let the tank sit for a couple days anyway. And then after it sits for a couple days, then we're going to have to leak test it for a couple days. So fill it up with water and test it for a leak before we install it in the fish room. Okay, now that's not a requirement, but we're going to use some painter tape in there to put around the edge of the tank, so that when we put the bead of silicone, we can push it down with our finger, and then when we remove the tank, it's going to be like perfect shape seal all the way around. Now, if you don't use the tape, then it's just going to look a little bit ugly, but it's still going to work and seal. So you can put the tape all the way to the end like this, and just grab your razor blade and then just do a small cut where you want the tape to stop. Doesn't need to be perfect, but it helps so that it's not ripped all too much in an angle. So now, after you put all your painter tape to make your silicone all look nice, this is what it should look like. Now I ran out of green tape, so I have this painter tape that's beige 2 in here. But so now I have a nice thick line about your finger width everywhere on all the corners and at the bottom. It's going to be very important when you stir the silicone to do it all non-stop before it dries up, because like we said earlier, and I cannot stress that enough, is old silicone and new silicone don't stick to old silicone. So if you don't finish the job all at once, then you have to scrape everything again and redo it all over. Alright, sorry about the mess here. I was doing some YOB tool review and Milwaukee tool review for my other channel, so I still have lots of tool here. Unfortunately, it started to rain outside, so I have to finish the tank reseal inside. Anyway, we're ready to go. We have all of our painter tape installed. For this, you're gonna need a glove. That's to smear the silicone around if you don't want it on your hand. The paper towel to wipe stuff off, and your aquarium silicone here ready to go. So this process have to get done pretty fast before the silicone have time to cure. So we're going to do that right now. For the end of the silicone gun, try to put a hole that is big enough to do like maybe a 1/4 inch bead, and then we're gonna spread this around after. It doesn't need to be perfect. If there's extra silicone that end up being put where you don't really want to, or fall at the bottom of the tank, after it cures, you can just scratch it up with a razor blade. So let's get going. I would put lots of silicone. It's better to have too much than not enough. So I usually start by just doing the bottom. So after we've been doing the whole bottom here, then we can start going up all the way to the frame. Now if you want some smaller bead here, that's fine. You could put the tape closer together. This tank is going in our fish room here, so I don't really care that much that if the silicone is have white bead. And actually I rather have that than smaller bead and having a chance to leak. Okay, so we're done applying our silicone right now. So now I'm just gonna go around and smear it with my finger and use the paper towel to wipe my finger here. Preferably start where you start with the start putting the silicone at the beginning. Then we can go up. It's gonna make it so that when we remove the tape, all of our lines are gonna be super equal. When you get to the top of the tank, I usually just wipe my finger underneath the lid, and that puts silicone all the way around to the top. So this is what it looks like now. If you think you're missing a little bit of silicone, it's still fresh, you can add some. Or you can smear it a little bit more. Don't smear it too much because it starts curing fairly fast. So now that we did that, we can start removing our our tape, and then the tank is gonna look super nice with a nice finished bead around it. I would keep the glove on and have a garbage can nearby so that you can throw those pieces of tape right away into the garbage bag, because you'll see that there's lots of silicone stuck at the edge of it. So because of that, you don't want to smear it all over the place. So it's better to go into the garbage right away. Now the trick to pull that tape off is put it as you're putting it away from, put it as you're putting it away from the silicone. So like that, it doesn't smear the silicone, it's going away from it, so it won't change your bead. by this is what I mean here. Putting it away from the silicone. All silicone have a nice strong vinegar ammonia smell there, so you know, when you're putting your head above the tank and try not to breathe that too much, it's sort on the nostril. It's better if you do that outside of your house or in a garage or your porch, or you know, somewhere where it won't get wet when it's curing. So you'll need, like, you know, some silicone 12 hours, 24 hours. I like to leave it 48 hours before I water test it, just to make sure that it's 100% cure. And then yeah, do it in your garage. If you're doing it in your basement or living room, it's gonna stink for like days in there. So after you remove the tape, this is the kind of bead of silicone that you can expect. Nice and straight. So here you have it. Tank is resealed. Now you just have to wait for it to cure. Always read the back of the tube. So, you know, this silicone in particular here, it says 24 hours until it cure, 10 minutes until it's skin, so it started to you won't be able to move it around anymore, and it says 7 days until full strength for curing. So this is important, because if you're doing a 20 gallon, that's not too bad. Now if you're doing a monster tank, you might want to wait the 7 days before you fill it up with water, so that it cannot come apart on you. But yeah, so I really usually wait like 48 hours, so 2 days before I water test it. We'll show you how to water test tank in previous video, when we're doing some, not to test fresh silicone, but when we're doing some water test for used tank. So watch that. And then that's it for this video. Let's wrap it up. Next video that I'm planning to do is actually another tour of the fish room, because there's some stuff that they're changing around in there, some tank size that they're changing. So stay tuned, watch the next video. I'll see you then. Well, I guess if you're bored and you don't want to wait until my next fish tour video, you can always watch some of my power tool video, which I have over 140 video of that on my other channel, Ben Wariobi.